Hi, my name is Dory Class. It's January 1st, 2019, and even though I've been told not to put dates on these things, for me that feels important. It's the beginning of the rest of my life, and yours with me. I'm 58 years old. I'll be 59 in May, and I've had a lot of life under my belt, like most of you. I'm at a point now in my life where I realize that a big part of my productive life, if I look through one lens, is over. I worked in corporate America for a couple decades and had a wonderful experience for the most part. I left it to become the anchor parent to our 4 boys and be more present to my marriage and my life and do some deep healing work I needed to do, which has been happening over the last 15 to 18 years. And a year after I made that decision to leave corporate America, which I outline a lot of details around in my book and a couple other things we'll be talking about later, I started my own business, which is a leadership development, coaching, and consulting business that I've had since 2003. What I know now is I'm entering into my next act, and while I could float in the pool and travel with my husband and keep things light because our youngest son is now 20, there's something more that's driving me from the inside out that I can't explain much of the time. I just know that I feel compelled. Some call this a calling. I don't know what I call it. What I know is that at the core of it is some aspect of scattering joy. Those are 2 words I use to define my purpose on this planet. And that requires both vulnerability and power, 2 things I talk about a lot in my work and I deal with a lot with my clients in our one-to-one coaching engagements. What I want to do right here, right now, this is as bad as it gets, out of bed and after a walk, kind of no makeup, nothing special, nothing fancy, here in my backyard place, is to tell you something about a vision or a dream I had over the last few nights and as a result of these last 58 and a half years. And that is that I have a vision for humanity that I stand for in all of my work, in all of my leadership training, in all of my communications training, and in all of my coaching. And it has 4 elements. The first is that we get really good, all of us, at putting relationships first, beginning with the one with ourselves and our many selves, our many parts within. And that is my signature work with my clients and with teams and with families. And it's what I stand for unequivocally. We have to get to know, like, love, and trust ourselves, our many parts, and understand that each of them has qualities and attributes and energies and abilities that if we had more awareness for these, we could take into the world consciously and use well, and it would be amazing. And over the course of this year, you're going to hear more from me in daily tweets, which is a whole new realm for me, in weekly Facebook Lives or videos, and in my hopefully monthly and maybe more often blog posts that you'll be able to find at dory@doryclass.com. And that's DORI@DORIKLASS.com. Not live right now, will be very soon. We're in reinvention and revitalization, which is what I do with my clients and I do with myself too in my own process. So number 1, put relationships first, beginning with the one with yourself. Only the most courageous are willing to do this, and those are the people I like to work with. And then number 2, keep the lines of communication open, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. And what that means is that each of us requires of ourselves to become emotionally literate, and ideally not just literate but masterful and skillful at being with our emotions, having a feeling, following the feeling, doing the shadow work around that, which you'll learn more about down the road. Everything that has anything to do with emotions, that lives in our body, that's part of our feminine aspect especially, and is beautiful and necessary to have a full and beautiful life. So Emotions are not something to fear. In fact, not being able to be with them, not being able to have them, not being able to name them, not being able to interact with them constructively, have a relationship with them and one another, it just kills our passion, it kills our potential, it makes us small, and it breaks my heart when it happens. And I make as many mistakes as the next guy, so this is my work too, and it matters. It matters. I wouldn't be able to be married 28 plus years. I wouldn't have 4 thriving boys and their extended families, and they wouldn't want to keep coming home to us and bringing their friends if it didn't work. I promise you, I've been my own living laboratory, and this works. So, number 1, put relationships first, beginning with the one with yourself. Number 2, keep the lines of communication open, which requires of us emotional literacy. And, for those of you who are, healthy strivers like me, emotional mastery. And then number 3, make love the most important thing. Begin in love, not fear. And it's our job to know ourselves well enough that we know what fears are also in the way, what motivates our underlying behavior, and how to deal with those things, to name them, to navigate them, to get skillful, to become more self-mastered in the process. There are ways to do this. I promise you, there are ways to do this, which will allow us to stay more related and healthy in our relationships and interpersonally. I know after 20 years in corporate America and after 15 years of doing leadership training and communications training and one-to-one high-touch, high-intimacy coaching with mid-career professionals who are inflection points, who are high achievers, who are overcommitted, who are busy, who are really successful, and who need a break in the action every so often with somebody who they trust, who's going to give it to them straight or call them on their crap. And I know that if we can get to that place of compassion, self-compassion, where the humanity is back in the room, then we can have the hardest of conversations, make the toughest of decisions. We can fire somebody while still honoring their worth and dignity. We can have a really hard conversation with our spouse or a kid, and we can move through it and be better for it later. Instead of spending lots of time in relationship rupture and repair, we can spend time in joy and service and making meaningful contributions and just having fun and being stupid and buying shoes or whatever the thing is that you like to do that's just fun. And then the last thing, so put relationships first, beginning with the one with yourself, which takes courage. Keep the lines of communication open, which requires emotional literacy and ideally long-term mastery. Make love the most important thing over fear, doubt, separateness. Keep everybody in your line of sight and close, starting with the heart, self-compassion. There's skills of compassion. And there's skills of empathy.